Hey fam, I'm back. It's your girl Natalie, the Keto Bikini Pro, and I am back with part two of the first basically check-in of this ketogenic cut bikini prep 2024. This is the video where I will get into all of the updates of how this prep has gone so far. I am now 2 weeks in to the cut part, 3 weeks in since I started the baseline with the Savage System protocol. So now I can share my screen with y'all and show you all the juicy data that I am tracking throughout this prep. Let's get right into it. All right, so here's my prep week by week updates and all of the data that I am sharing with you all. I also, by the way, if you are not yet following me on Instagram at the Keto Bikini Pro, I will also be sharing these in the captions of my check-in videos every single week. So this was week 0, what I'm calling week 0, from the 7th of July to the 13th. As of the 13th, I was 18 weeks out to stage. My body composition at that point was 122.2 pounds, 23% body fat on average, 52.5 pounds of skeletal muscle mass per my in-body. This is all via my in-body H20N home scale, and 94.1 pounds of lean body mass, which leaves me with 28.1 pounds of body fat mass. So InBody gives me all that data along with my estimated BMR, my average BMR, meaning what I burn calorically, what I burn at rest. And that is on average 1291 for the week. So just to show y'all how I'm getting to these numbers, here's my personal progress tracker that I have used for years now. I have a bunch of rows actually hidden here from my mini cut earlier in the year. So that was June. These pink rows, you may be able to guess what those are. That's Shark Week. And then this was my week 0 baselining maintenance week. That is when I was 19 weeks out to FMG Mexico. And I'm also counting down to my first ever KBB retreat, Keto Bikini Body retreat we are doing in Florida in mid-September. So I was 10 weeks out to the retreat and 19 weeks out to FMG Mexico at that time. And here's all of my daily numbers. I track every single day: protein, total carbs, fat, calories, BMR, body weight, body fat percentage, skeletal muscle mass, body fat mass, lean body mass. I'm also calculating my fasted blood glucose and ketones, my hormones, which I just started on the 16th. I started tracking those. That is a hormone metabolites urine test that I can do daily. I will be doing a whole separate video on how that works, what app I'm using to do that. Really cool. It's too early now for me to make any trend analysis because it hasn't even been a month that I've been doing it yet. But once I do, I'm going to tell you all the juicy deets about that, how it works, what I'm learning about my cycle and perimenopause through those readings. But I'm able to test my LH, my progesterone, and my estrogen metabolites through that testing. And then I'm noting what day of my cycle I'm on, and then how much water I'm consuming, my electrolytes, my sleep in numbers, my step count per day, my cardio in terms of how many minutes, and then what type of cardio, and then what kind of training did I do, and was it a rest day or a training day? And then over here on the right is where I have my milestones. What are the dates? What am I counting down to? My notes for what my goals are for the week. And then this is where I'm putting my target macros over here on the side. So that's my full progress tracker. All right. And then Rob Sykes has a ketogenic bodybuilding downloadable tracking sheet as well. So I'm being really geeky and I'm using his as well. So I can look at all the data that we track here. It's very similar. I'm just not tracking as much data on his. It's more body composition and macros only. And then this was what I used to set my initial macros and goals and use his tracking sheet. And if you're interested in more about his tracking sheet, I can go into more depth on that in a future video if you'd like. Okay, so here we go, Savage System, week 0 baselining. So then what I do every single week, I take averages. And so these things that I share and report out on Instagram and here will always be the averages. I am not ever looking at what I weigh on one particular day at one particular time. Here's a great example. I am now at the end of week 2 of the cut. If I were to look at today, so I just finished the end of week 2, that average was here, which I'll share with you in a moment, but you can see the average was 120.8 pounds. Look at what my weight was today, 121.7. If I took my daily weight as my progress, then I would think that I've gained weight on this cut. And I would say, oh no, I'm not being successful. But it's just one day. You'll note that I'm on day 28 of my cycle, which means it's very likely that tomorrow I will get my menstrual cycle, day 1 of the bleed, which would very much explain why I had this weight jump after dropping all last week. So we never take, this is one thing I always say, we never take how much we weigh on one particular day and say that is my weight. We have to take averages. So bouncing back up here to the top. Let me go back to this screen. Okay. So here we were at week 0. That was all my data. Fasted glucose and ketones were, if you notice this, my fasted glucose was 89. My ketones were 0.2. This is when I just started the really high fat. So I didn't have many ketones registering in my blood yet. And having shared with you that prior to this, I was eating about 50 total carbs per day and 160 grams of protein, and my fat was around 130, 135 at the most. You know, my carbs and my protein were higher. My protein was higher than my fat, and my carbs were significantly higher than they are here. I probably wasn't producing a lot of ketones, or maybe at all. So there you go. That's part of what my goal was, to make sure I'm in nutritional ketosis. And you'll see that when we get to week 2, those averages. I mean, week 1. So this is still week 0. So my actual macros consumed in week 0, which was my baselining week, was 125, essentially 125 protein, 21 total carbs, 145 fat for a little under 1,900 calories, which I think was about a 70% fat ratio. I was not yet tracking my hydration, but I'd estimate that I drink between 72 and 80 ounces a day because I fill up a jug every day with my electrolytes and my water, and I pretty much drink that daily. So that's probably where my water was, but I wasn't being very diligent about tracking it yet. And I did not start tracking my electrolytes yet. For cardio, I really am not doing any cardio yet. There was one day I took a leisurely walk outside for about 25 minutes. And then I looked at my average step count and it was sitting around 6,000 steps a day. For training, I was doing 4-day split, 2 upper and 2 lower body days with 1 push day, 1 pull day, and then a full leg day, and then a glutes and hams focus leg day. I was in the follicular phase of my cycle from day 7 to 13. I was scared to drop my protein, but I felt ready. I was like, let's do this. So I did notice a low energy midday drop in energy before my workouts. I generally work out around 2 or 3 or 4 in the afternoon. So I took Element on the tongue. There was a day or two where I made an extra coffee or an espresso, added some electrolytes and some MCT oil to try to give me a boost for my workout. And then I did get a boost in the workout. My strength output in the gym seemed to be improving from what it had been. I was increasing reps and increasing weight on certain exercises. And at this stage, I was like, it's too early to tell if it's truly from the fat or I was in my follicular phase, which tends to be the time when we are our strongest. So it may have just been hormonally related. That first week, when I was 70% fat, I pulled my protein down to about my body weight, and I was eating over my protein in fat, but I had not yet dropped my protein significantly. I was not at 80% fat yet. I was not hungry at all. It was an amazing week. I felt full. I felt satiated. I felt happy. I still had plenty of food, whole food, real food to eat. I was not needing to make a bunch of fat bombs, although I did make a fattier coffee than I usually have. It was fantastic. And I remember thinking at the end of this week, I could definitely do this for a while. So that 120, 125 protein, 145 fat, that was really working for me well. All right, then we get into week 1 of the cut. 17 weeks out to stage. My body composition after that week was 121.7 pounds, 22.6% body fat, 52.6 pounds of skeletal muscle mass, 94.3 pounds of lean body mass, 27.5 pounds of body fat mass, and my BMR stayed pretty constant at 1293. Let's switch over to here so you can see what that means in terms of my results. So I dropped about almost 0.5 percentage in my body fat percentage. I dropped about 0.5 pound on the scale. I maintained my skeletal and my lean muscle mass. And I dropped about 0.5 pound of fat mass. So that is a win for me. Week 1 was successful. And the coolest part of it, look at this. Look at the calories in week 0, 1889.9. Look at the calories on average in week 1, 1906. So I was able to drop that 0.5 pound of body fat and maintain my lean mass, eating basically at maintenance, same amount of calories. So I actually did not even really cut that week. Calories remained the same and just even was up by like 16, 17 calories. So my glucose, you'll notice, dropped on average from 89 to 82.9. And my fasted ketones went from 0.2 to 1.0. So now we got ketones, and we had some really high ketone days there too. Over one day where it was 2. So you can see all week it kind of slowly crept up from 0.3 to 0.6 to 0.9, 1.4, 2, and then it started coming back down, 1.3. My cycle from day 14 to day 20, this is where I think I may have entered my luteal phase. I'm not totally sure as of right now. I'm on day 28, as I mentioned, and I don't know if I'm going to get a cycle or not. Still very confused with this whole perimenopause thing. I didn't start testing until I think it was when did I start testing my hormones? The 16th, day 16. So I think I could have hit ovulation around day 14 or 15. I'm not certain, but too early to really know how to assess these numbers. But based on the fact that my LH became 0, my progesterone went way up to 100 on the 19th, and my estrogen was pretty low. It made me think that I'd started my luteal phase. Kind of guesses right now, though. I started out kind of grouchy about the whole process of having to drop the protein. At first, I hated it. I wanted my high fat. I wanted my protein. I wanted my high protein. I went from so happy with my foods and satiety and all of that, with the first week, the baselining like 70% fat. When I went 80% fat, my protein had to go so low. This is where, let's look at the macros. the targets, I was targeting 75 grams of protein, 20 total carbs, and 165 fat for 1865 calories. I landed at 80 grams of protein, 21 total carbs, and 167 fat, so about 1906 calories. I just, under 80 grams of protein, I don't even know. It's been so long since I can't even imagine, honestly, eating that low. I don't know if I ever have, really. Yikes. I was not a happy camper. It was very, very low volume for me. Yeah. So, still had the midday slumps. I still took the element on the tongue and the espresso and all that. My strength and output in the gym was still really good, still increasing. And, you know, I do think toward the end of the week, I was hitting my luteal phase. The mood really started dropping. But my workouts, by the time I got into the gym, my workouts still felt great. I still got all 4 training days in. And I still had just my one leisurely walk for the week. So my cardio was not any higher. As a matter of fact, my step count was a little lower. It was also rainy, so I just didn't go outside, didn't move around as much. My hydration, I set a goal to start really tracking my hydration, and I wanted to get it up. So it was on average 92 ounces of water a day. I should also mention this is in addition to my coffee. So I'm not tracking my coffee in that number. It's just my water with electrolytes. And then my coffee will put me above that. So what else? I was thrilled to make it through this week. And at the end of the week, I discovered like I was really more excited about the process. I definitely was excited to start bringing the protein up slowly and start pulling back a little bit on the approach. I definitely shifted my mentality. I became more positive about this approach and decided to look on the bright side and have some fun with my fats. I bought some macadamia nuts that week because I had ordered some cacao butter online and it was taking longer to arrive than I thought. So I did not have a lot to work with in terms of adding fats. I did eat a little bit of lamb tallow that I had in the freezer. I was making my super fatty coffees a lot fattier than usual, but I don't like to drink my calories. I like to eat them. So I got some pumpkin seeds, some pepitas. I got some, sprouted pumpkin seeds, salted and sprouted, and then dry roasted salted macadamia nuts. And that was really enjoyable because I usually don't eat those things. And I kind of missed having things like that. So that was kind of enjoyable. But I do try to limit nuts and seeds because I want to protect my gut, which has been sensitive in the past. So, all right. Then we have this week. So wait, did I skip past a week? Or no, that was week 1. Cool. So now we have today. Today's the 28th. I have been in prep for 2 weeks now. I am now 16 weeks out to the stage. And my average at the end of week 2, 120.8 pounds, 22.1% body fat, 52.5 skeletal muscle mass, 94.1 lean body mass, and 26.7 body fat mass. BMR maintaining beautifully. So let's look. End of week 2. Another drop. So we see on average, I came down almost a pound this week. Body fat percentage down another 0.5%. Skeletal muscle mass and lean mass holding steady. And body fat mass down another almost a full pound. So we can see that my losses on the scale are truly coming from my fat mass. Yay! So down a couple pounds from where we started. My fasted blood glucose came back up a little bit to 87.7 on average. I did have one fluke day, and this was yesterday, Saturday morning. My blood glucose in the morning was 102, and that, I think, is because we went to sleep at 1 a.m. on Friday night, which is very, very late for us. Usually I'm in bed before 11, asleep by 11, and I generally get on average 7 hours of sleep, 7 to 7.5 hours of sleep per night, which I also did that night, but it was from going to sleep after midnight, 1 a.m., and then sleeping in till 8. Y'all, that can absolutely screw with your blood sugar. So something to keep in mind. I think that's why that was averaging higher. My ketones did drop on average to under 1 this week. And I believe that is because my body is now using some of those ketones. So they're not just hanging out in my blood anymore. And that's what we want. And I'm hoping that as I continue to move along in this and my body utilizes the ketones efficiently, that I'm hoping I will stop having those dips in energy throughout the day. So my water the last 2 weeks has averaged 92 ounces a day. And then my electrolytes, I'm not focusing too much on that right now because I have not been tracking the salt I'm using on my food. I've only been tracking my electrolyte supplements that I'm adding. So I'm just looking at those so that I can start to notice if I have any symptoms and if I might need to shift the ratios. I've also been trying a lot of different new supplements, electrolyte supplements lately. So these are looking very different day to day right now. I'm going to be dialing that in. Today is actually the first day that I'm actually tracking the salt that I'm putting on my food. So going forward, I will be including all of my electrolytes from the salt on my food to all of the supplementation. And I'm going to be trying to dial it in a little bit closer so I can keep a better tab on my electrolyte balance, which I think also will help with those daily energy dips. So back over here, my cardio, you will see, has completely increased this week. So total minutes of cardio this week, 110. Yesterday, I went on 2 separate 20 to 30 to 40 minute, I think it was a 25-minute walk and then like a 35-minute walk, something like that. So it was 60 minutes altogether. And then a couple of 25-minute walks. These are all very leisurely walks. This is not structured cardio yet. This is just going out for a walk in the neighborhood, which I want to continue to do, for a while before I actually put cardio into my program. Now, this week I only got in 3 training days. So I had an extra rest day in here. I had a back injury, nothing major, but a little tweak a few weeks ago. And this week I started feeling it again. It's right behind my shoulder blade on the right side. And I don't have a chiropractic appointment again for another full week, I believe, a week from Monday. So I wanted to kind of chill out a little bit on that this past week. So I skipped back day, took an extra rest day. And I also had a crazy busy Monday. So I pushed everything a little later in the week. So that's where we're at with that. And I did legs yesterday. So today is a rest day and then we will resume, goal being to hit all 4 training days this week. All right, so that brings us up to date on where things are. I am waiting to see what's going to happen with my cycle. I'm feeling very content at the moment with, as I mentioned, with my physique. I'm feeling really happy with where I'm at and the progress I've made thus far. And I'm just looking forward. Like I have this positive outlook on this prep going forward. Let me stop my screen share now. And then I'll just share the rest of my thoughts on where I'm at and this protocol thus far. So yeah, I decided to have a positive attitude about this whole thing, get excited about it, eat some foods that are high fat that I haven't even thought about eating in a long time that I enjoy, because y'all, I actually love fatty meats. I love fat. Bronson likes his lean meats. He prefers lean meats. It's the texture thing for him. I love ribeyes. I love short ribs, carnitas, pork butt, whole eggs, egg yolks. I actually just this week decided to try making fatty creamies. I make Ninja creamies Usually I make protein creamies and the fat is not very high in them. So I just decided, hey, let's roll with the punches. Let's make this really enjoyable. If I'm going to eat high fat, let me eat all the things I love. So instead of my protein yogurt bowls and my protein ice creams, I decided to make fat bombs instead. So I've been making some cool new things. I should probably do a video for y'all all on just what I'm eating, recipes, things that I'm trying. I'll make sure I do some content on Instagram of my meals and my recipes too. I did recently put up a highlight on my Instagram called Meals or My Meals, so you can see, you know, some of my favorite meals on a regular basis. You can check that out. But I'll do a YouTube video for you guys too. So the one thing right now that I want to optimize is this daily energy slump and then these like day-to-day fluctuations in my energy and mood. However, I do think it's very much driven by hormonal fluctuations right now. For instance, I'm not putting this back up on the screen, but just the last 3 days. So today I tested my hormones and my estrogen was 202. Yesterday it was 82, and the day before that it was 244, and the day before that it was 19. So you're seeing drops in estrogen, spike in estrogen, drop in estrogen, spike in estrogen, like day after day. I think that that is a major driver. Yesterday, for example, I felt fantastic for some reason. It was the best I felt all day. No mood slump, no energy slump. Awesome, perfect leg day. I'm so glad I decided to take a rest day on Friday because Friday, I was completely exhausted. I was going to do this video on Friday, but it wasn't going to happen. I was just energy and mood were totally in the dumps. So how much of that I can really influence with my diet and electrolytes, I'm going to try. That's the whole point of this protocol, is trying this high fat and then managing my electrolytes. I really want to, like I said, dial all that in to see if it impacts things and improves things. However, it could at the end of the day simply be a hormonal thing that I maybe can't impact with my diet. Hopefully I can. We will see, but I'll keep y'all posted on that part of it as I move forward. So let's see, other basically insights so far. Habit change requires commitment, y'all. It requires determination, planning, preparation, and a positive attitude. If you go into a change that you're trying to make grumbling and complaining and upset, good luck. I can almost guarantee you're going to fail. If you're going to do it, go in with a full willingness to go 100%. This is the little coming to Jesus I had with myself when I was kind of like poo-pooing this whole low protein thing. Nobody's forcing me to do this. It's my choice. I chose to do this for a reason. If I don't want to do this, I can go do something else. Anytime I want in this cut, if I decide this isn't working for me anymore, if all of a sudden my body composition just goes crazy and I start putting on body fat like crazy and losing muscle mass, I can choose to change course, to course correct. I know what has worked for me in the past and I can go back to that. No problem. But I'm choosing to give this 100%. I want to give it a chance to work. I'm not going to go into this sabotaging it because I want to bash this protocol. What kind of attitude is that? Like, why would I even want to do it that way? There's a reason I chose that. I thought this would be a good idea for me. So this goes back to getting clear on your why. What's my why? I would like to be able to maintain healthy levels of hormones for a longer period of time before I have to consider hormone replacement. I believe in this protocol, so I'm giving it a try for that purpose. So I might as well have fun with it, enjoy myself, and have a positive attitude about it. Not to mention the fact that, like I said, I'm loving where my body is right now. So the cool thing is that in this prep, unlike past preps, I'm not looking for the end result. I'm not, oh my gosh, I want to be there already. I love this off-season lifestyle body I've built. I'd be happy to live in this body forever. But I'm doing a prep cut to get lean for stage. So I'm going to love this stage. I'm going to love 5 pounds from now. I'm going to love 10 pounds from now. I'm going to love 15 pounds from now, which is my ultimate goal of getting on stage, the leanest I've ever been. And then I'm going to love every step of the reverse diet process to come back to where I am now. It's a beautiful place to be. I have nothing to complain about. So, plus every week from here on out until we get to the really tough part, the phase 3 part, where we start pulling back on everything, to me, it's nothing but upside now, because we're going to keep bringing that protein up slightly, bringing the fat down slightly, to where ultimately we'll end up at a 1-to-1, and then we'll see if I continue going in the other direction from there or what we do next. But basically, I had to start, like I said, with lower volume whole food meals. It feels like I'm getting more food each week that I go, because I started out with, I had to start out with 2 moderate sized meals to keep my protein low, and all these little fat bombs, or, high fat coffees. So essentially every week, as we bring my protein up, my meals get to be bigger. My real food, I get to eat more real food. So I'm loving it. I'm excited for it. Last night we went out to Mission Barbecue and I got some brisket. It's the first time I've had brisket in a while. So yeah, I'm probably going to go out and explore some other high fat foods I haven't been consuming. I did some carnitas last week that I purchased already packaged from Costco. And I will tell you, I had some symptoms. I have had issues with high histamine foods in the past. So when I'm doing a lot of aged foods all at once, and pork tends to really cause problems for me with my histamine intolerance. So I do have a supplement I can take for it. I did that. It did help. I've put the pork in the freezer to maybe ration out later or give it to Bronson, but I can't do it. And I love carnitas, y'all. But if I try that again, I'll be buying some pork butt and making my own. And maybe that will make a difference. But at any rate, I did a lot of chuck roast this week. Now I've switched to ground beef, Wagyu, fattier ground beef. So I'll be doing a lot of burgers this week, my ground lamb and my eggs. This past week I did salmon and eggs every day, and I absolutely loved that. And now I'm doing my higher fat ice creams, creamies. So that's really enjoyable. I just made a fluffernutter version with Equip Prime peanut butter protein, because I am still putting a little bit of protein powder in there to help kind of with the consistency of it. High fat coconut milk and egg yolks. What else did I put in there? Some nut pods, which is a non-dairy coconut and almond creamer. And I have a little packet of peanut butter. I'll be having half a, I ration out peanut butter, and I don't do a lot of peanut flours and peanut butter very often. It's a occasional, very rare occasion, because peanuts can be very inflammatory, and I can definitely feel it if I do it too often. But decided to do that this week. So that's a recipe I can share with y'all. Let's see. What else did I wanted to share? I am a little afraid of getting attached to the high fat treats, I will say. A little scared. I've also been snacking on cacao butter wafers just when I need something to boost up the fat, or in the middle of the day when I'm hungry. But honestly, I think it'll be fine. I'm confident in my ability to adjust recipes and modify macros, and still enjoy, things that are tasty. Over the years, I've been able to make really tasty things with low fat, with high fat, with everything in between, with high protein. So I can always find a way to make it enjoyable. And when I say low fat, I've never been low fat in the context of what a general population would consider low fat, but maybe low fat by keto standards. And usually I don't do that very long. That's during a comp prep and it's at the end, which is going to happen again with this one. Eventually, all my macros will get low. But we're going to try to save that for as long toward the end as possible. Oh yeah, I wanted to mention one more thing. A pro tip that bodybuilders use usually in preps that works a little bit better with a typical bodybuilder diet, which is higher carb and low fat, but it's still a good tip. And this is that bodybuilders typically choose lean meats and then they manage their fats with added fat sources, meaning the oil, the butter, the things that you use to cook your meats in, and then things like nuts, like almonds, things like that, so that olives, whole food fats, avocados, if you're eating that stuff. I'm mostly carnivore, so most of what I eat is meat and eggs. And then I have my non-dairy, additional things that are plant-based, obviously, like coconut. But I do limit nuts and seeds, usually, things like that. But here's the thing with lean meats. Super, super lean meats are less nutrient dense. The middle to the higher fat meats are the most nutrient dense foods. And you're getting the fats with the nutrients for those vitamins, for those fat soluble vitamins, A, D, E, and K. But here's the tricky thing with tracking your high fat meats. It is very difficult to track those accurately because no two fatty meats are exactly the same. It's going to be based on the label or the entry you choose in your nutrition tracking app. They're basing it on kind of averages for those cuts of meats, but you can't be certain how much fat is in that particular cut. So 2 ribeyes could be very different levels of fat, but the nutrition label might say the same thing. For example, I did short ribs last week and there was no label, so I could not use the label. So I looked up a USDA entry. I looked up NCCDB database, which is, I use Chronometer to track all of my nutrition. It is one of the absolute best. It is the best database in my opinion. It's vetted. You're not going to have a bunch of junk entries in there that people have put in there because they vet their entries. So I looked at the 2 most reliable databases, NCCDB and USDA, and they varied greatly. And then I just kind of had to do the best I could with estimating. I did a little bit of this entry and a little bit of that entry to figure out what might be the right accurate entry. But the truth is, maybe I was totally off on my macros. Maybe I was way over or way under, but I'm not really sure because I had to pick what I had to pick for these high fat meats. So that's the only tricky thing with using high fat meats. So as we go, and especially as I'm cutting my fat macro, I will likely be leaning toward more moderate to leaner cuts of meats and then managing my fats with the additional sources, even if it's rendering the tallow and then saving it and adding it to cook my leaner meats in. It's just a more accurate way of tracking your macros. So if you are a person who eats a lot of really fatty meats and you've been tracking and you're not sure why you're not losing, it simply could be that you're not tracking as accurately because you're using fatty meats. And there's nothing you can do about that. There's no way that you can take a steak and know exactly how much fat is in that steak. It's a lot safer with leaner meats. Now, I'm not saying go out and eat nothing but chicken because honestly, I would still say eating red meats, lamb and beef, versus eating chicken. There are leaner cuts of steaks. New York strip is leaner than ribeye. Top sirloin is leaner than New York strip. There's so many different cuts and roasts and all kinds of things. It's tricky with the accuracy. So I'm not a big proponent on only eating lean meat. I never recommend only eating lean meat. I like a good mix of things, some lean, some fatty, some in between. I also really like a mix of fish, seafood, red meat, and then occasional pork and chicken. That's generally the way that I look at it. All right. That is all I have for y'all for now. For week 2, I'm, like I said, thrilled with the way things are going so far. I'm excited about this prep. I really don't have any fears or concerns. I think it's going to be a blast and I plan to have fun with it. So I'll keep y'all updated. At the end of week 3, I'll let you know how that went, whether or not I got my cycle, what's going on, how I'm feeling, how the macros have changed, and all that good stuff. Have a great week. And if you have any questions for me about this protocol, about my results, about what I'm doing, or anything else related to bodybuilding, keto, both, drop them in the comments, let me know, and I'll answer that on a future video. See y'all next time. Peace out.